What's up? I'm Anthony. This week, the Ohio State University head football coach, Urban Meyer, was under potentially career-ending scrutiny stemming from a 2015 domestic violence allegation between one of his assistant coaches and that coach's wife. Exactly who knew what and who told who is still being hashed out by investigators in Columbus. But as soon as the story broke, it was everywhere, and instantly people had strong opinions. Urban was being excoriated as an enabler who turned a blind eye on a battered woman to preserve the football program's legacy over a woman's safety, a serious accusation. And if you've seen my video Scars, you know how close the topic of domestic violence is to my heart and how much I detest it. But as specific details are emerging, it turns out there's more to the story than we felt in our initial emotional reactions. And that's my point for today. What we see when we look at a thing often says more about us than it does about the thing. We tend to see what we look for. Everything connects. Although I'm using Urban Meyer's story to illustrate my point, what I'm really driving at reaches far beyond this single situation. I'm talking about recognizing that we all see life through a particular lens, through a particular filter. That filter is colored by lots of personal things like our experiences and our fears and our expectations, race, gender, socioeconomic status, and more. The lens is different for all of us. Some people heard the beginnings of this story and immediately envisioned a behemoth of an institution callously covering up abuse in order to keep the wins coming and the money machine printing. After all, there are examples of that happening. Other people heard this story and immediately questioned the victim's credibility. After all, people do lie. And still others heard it and celebrated, not because they were happy with abuse, but because they hate Ohio State and thought this meant they'd have to fire their outstanding football coach. What do all three of these and other views that I didn't get into, what do all three of them have in common that I didn't mention? Each person thought they were seeing the truth. Truth. See, now more than ever, objective truth is becoming obsolete. We're losing ourselves to the filters through which we look. We're becoming so attached to our perspectives, we're forgetting they're just perspectives. We're forgetting that we see things through the prism of our beliefs. We're fooling ourselves into believing we see objective truth when what we really see has already been run through the mental sieve of our prejudices and expectations. The human mind is a tricky thing. It doesn't want to be wrong, and it certainly doesn't want to prove itself wrong. When a person isn't aware of this and doesn't consciously avoid it, their mind warps everything it sees to make it fit into their already held beliefs. And if they can't manipulate it to make it fit, they'll reject it totally, or they'll attempt to invalidate it by discrediting the source. If you've ever been in an argument with somebody before, you've probably seen this. See, on a bigger scale, this is what's happening in our country, both politically and socially. So how do we change? We change individually, each of us, by waking up and realizing there's a separation between our thoughts and ourselves, by disassociating with our need for our perspective to be right. When we attach ourselves to our thoughts as the truth, we cut ourselves off from all other viewpoints. We limit our ability to understand each other, our ability to deepen ourselves. See, I'm a proponent of freedom, and freedom comes from understanding that your initial reaction to something is going to be governed by your filters. I felt this myself with the Urban Meyer situation. I heard the words domestic violence and cover up, and I immediately wanted him fired. But when I looked within, I realized I was reacting based on my own filters, and that objectively, I didn't really know enough about what happened to warrant me calling for his job. So in this situation, I'm waiting for the investigation to play out. I'm seeking to be informed rather than opinionated. But I had to stop and realize that those were emotional triggers for me. They clouded my vision. And in a world where our emotions are constantly being manipulated by social media and the news and these entities pushing agendas, it's critical that we learn to step back and take a breath. And that's all it takes. The space between your reaction and your action. The space between having a feeling and recognizing that it's just a feeling. It's not you. It's just a perspective. And everyone has theirs. That gap is where consciousness lives. It's where we really learn about ourselves and where we have the opportunity to change into who we want to become, to choose who we want to be. So in this day and age, when you're being pressured into picking sides about everything, I encourage you to seek to be informed rather than to be opinionated. And remember, it's easy to see this behavior in others. But like most things, the real growth, the real evolution comes not from recognizing it in others, but from recognizing and then fixing it within ourselves. Because everything connects. Love and respect.